Hi warriors, and welcome back to another video. I keep getting quite a lot of questions about my journey into veganism, why I'm vegan, how long I've been vegan, what made me go vegan, why you maybe should or shouldn't be vegan. So I thought that I'd make a video on it, just cover it in depth. I hope you enjoy. So first of all, I was born in Belgium, followed quite a standard Belgian diet, so potatoes, vegetables, and then some meat or some fish, and that was sort of the standard meal that we had for ourselves. And I've always liked potatoes, vegetables, but I never really had too much meat because from a very young age I made that connection that meat comes from an animal, and I didn't want to eat animals. However, my parents never wanted me to become vegetarian or to stop eating meat because clearly you needed meat for the protein, which I want to just say right now is a myth, because plants have protein, legumes have protein, nuts have protein. There's so many other ways you can get your protein. So protein deficiency is probably the least of your worries. Anyway, when we moved to Hungary and I went to the American school, I think I was about 11 years old when I went to this presentation where I learned about nature, basically, and climate change and how we are impacting climate change by eating animals. And I never actually thought about that because I knew that eating animals was quite a cruel thing to do for the animals, but I didn't know the effect it had on the planet. Having learned that, that became a really big concern for me, and even more so than before. I wanted to be vegetarian, but once again, my parents told me, you need the protein. So, I kept eating meat. I reduced the amount of meat I ate from the fairly small amounts I already ate before. But now I have meat a few times a week, not at every meal for sure, but it was still part of my diet. And when I then had my eating disorder, I also just wasn't allowed to restrict on any food. And I think that makes sense because at that point I probably would have used any excuse to reduce my intake and to let the eating disorder take control. So during my eating disorder, I still ate meat. When I then overcame my eating disorder and went to university in my first year, I reduced my meat some more. And I started going to Vegetarian Society. Even though I wasn't fully vegetarian, I loved Vegetarian Society, and I got to know about veganism as well. It's something I had never thought about before. And at that point I didn't really understand the impact of veganism. I was going through liters and liters of milk every week, eating quite a lot of eggs. But I felt good about myself because gradually, during that first year, I transitioned to a vegetarian diet. Then at the end of first year, I also had some chats with some vegans in the group. And by the start of second year, I got into a relationship with someone who was pretty much vegan at that point. My boyfriend, Tom. Anyway, he taught me more about veganism and the impact it has on the planet, which is that exact same thing that had left such a massive impact on me when I was 11 years old. And I realized that obviously stopping to eat meat was a big thing towards living towards my values, but it was a bit hypocritical to stop eating meat and to still drink lots and lots of milk, because again, that has a massive impact on the environment and on the animals. So I decided that maybe it was time to make a switch. Soy milk it is now. Anyway, that's my reasoning for turning vegan. And the transition was fairly easy for me as well. Basically because I felt so strongly about it. The switch was quite easy. I didn't really miss cheese or cream or milk or meat because I associate these things with animal suffering and damage to the environment, and that doesn't make me very inclined to consume these products. Also, there's so many alternatives out there, so I don't feel restricted in any way, and I've never craved any of these products anymore after I turned vegan. So if I want junk food, or like a creamy, cheesy meal, for example, I can blend up cashews or just buy cheese replacements. There's so many things out there. As my boyfriend is vegan, and a big chunk of his family is vegetarian and vegan, etc., it's just easy, really. It's not like I go home to my family where suddenly all the option I have is cheese and meat, because my family too are quite accommodating, and my mum already leaned towards more pescatarian, potentially vegetarian meals anyway. So they all quite like trying new foods, although initially it was definitely a change for them, especially for my dad. I remember him trying his first vegan meal and asking me where the bacon was. Now when I get home, he's asking me, are you going to make some more hummus? It is important not to just push these beliefs onto anyone, because I think that's not going to help at all. But if you want people to accept veganism, be open to the idea, I think it's just a good idea to lead by example. That's how I transitioned. That's how a lot of people that I know transitioned. I also see a lot of people that aren't allowed to go vegan because they need their protein, or because they're in recovery from an eating disorder. I already busted the first one. In terms of the second one, that's a bit more tricky. Personally, I didn't go vegan during my recovery because I think it would have been quite challenging. Not because veganism is inherently restricting, but because my eating disorder could have made anything restrictive. So, not eating meat, not eating dairy products, etc. could have been an easy excuse for me not to have any snacks at a party, or not to get certain things in the house and then feeling like I had nothing to eat because everything was non-vegan, etc., etc. So if this is the mindset you have, it's probably not a good idea to go vegan. However, if you're more flexible in your thinking, if you can plan ahead, if like me you love to cook anyway, you're making your meals from scratch, then yeah, the transition is pretty easy. But how do you convince your parents? As for me, I didn't really care to convince my parents. I just went vegan like that. And then when I got home, I told them, well, I'm vegan. You're gonna have to accommodate. And I cooked some of the meals that I had tried out that I really enjoyed. And that way they got to know vegan cooking. I really tried to get them out of their comfort zone, get them to try new things by putting in effort myself, rather than saying, Mum, you need to cook all of these things, and getting her completely overwhelmed. I told her, well, I've been trying these different recipes. You know what? I'll cook tonight, or we can cook together and you can see what it's like. So that is much less attacking, much less overwhelming, and a much better strategy to convince your parents. Also, I think it's really important to show them that you're not restricting, that you can still have ice cream, vegan ice cream, or crisps if you want to, because they're vegan too. But as I said, the important thing is to do it for the right reasons. Then it's important to try new things, be open to new foods, eat a variety, and do not restrict whatever your diet is. Be open with your parents. Tell them why you want to make this change and how it's going to affect you in a positive way. That way, they'll know you have the right intentions. And if you have the right intentions, they're more likely to be more open and accepting to it.
Yes.
I lost my train of thought. Anyway, if you want to try out some new recipes, or maybe become more of a flexitarian, adding in some more vegan meals here and there whilst not defining yourself by a certain label, certainly check out some of my recipe videos or my pasta recipe ebook. It's available on Patreon for just $5, and for those $5 you get a whole range of other exclusive and early bird videos as well. Anyway, I hope this video has answered some of your questions. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any more questions about veganism in recovery or convincing your parents or anything related to the topic, then definitely let me know below. Love you all loads and see you all soon. As a vegan, you save the life of about 30 animals each year. Also, you cut your carbon footprint in half. You save water, reduce your chances of heart disease, and you'll be able to live by your morals. Isn't that what we all want? I used to think that dairy was okay because obviously cows aren't killed in the process. But then I learned that baby calves are taken away from their mums, and just the horrid nature in which it all occurs, and it just made me really sad. And I thought, well, at least I've still got eggs. Chicken lay eggs anyway. It's all fine. And then I found out that male chicks are just thrown into the grinder because there's no use for them. And I felt sad again. And I decided maybe this vegan thing is something that I want to pursue.